Good news to you, and welcome to The Perspective, a show that is looking to give you a three-dimensional understanding to the world around us. And we just want to take this time to thank our man of God, Prophet Uebert, for an amazing teaching that we have received over the past few weeks. And lives are being changed. Yours is about to be changed right now because of this greater insight. It is very important for you to realize that the perspective is bringing you a better understanding or a deeper understanding as we extrapolate and exegete the teachings of our man of God, Prophet Uebert. So we're going to get straight deeper because there is something powerful with the panel I have here today, which we want to discuss. So welcome, Executive Pastor Moses.
Thank you, SG. I just want to appreciate our man of God, Prophet Uebert, because throughout the month of January, I really fed us what we need to know.
Yes.
Talking about the coming forward. So I'm excited that we're going to discuss deeper into it. I believe we have discussed part one sometime during last week.
Yes.
Now this is part two. So, but thank our man of God for really, bringing in life that which we had to discuss.
That's right. It's going to be very, very powerful. And Executive Pastor Peven, the man from America.
Thank you so much, Secretary General, and thank you so much, Executive Pastor Moses. I'm always excited whenever we are having another one of these segment of The Perspective.
Yes.
Because I'm so grateful, of the Prophet of God for the information that he's always bringing to the table, and he brings so much condensed information that we need time, to just break it down and digest it. So I'm excited for this episode as we're looking into some of the the warnings that he has given about the coming wars.
Yes.
So I'm really excited.
Yes. So there are coming wars. There are coming wars, and we've already been given the wisdom. Insight to reality. We've got the Sophia. We've got an understanding because we've got a man of God who hears from God. And right here today, we are dealing with the two other wars which he spoke about. And one of them being the food wars. And then the other one is on the area of the witches. Let's put it that way and say the witches. The witches are out there, and if you are watching this today, it is very important for you to realize that these days the witches are no longer those flying in a broom and wearing dark clothes and a long head. They wear white dust coats, and they carry pipettes and cuvettes and microscopes and stuff like that. So,
no, but those ones are still there. I heard there was somebody who was arrested in another country somewhere in Africa for playing without an aviation license.
So you heard it. But we want to also talk about the ones which are affecting. Those ones are only affecting villages.
Yeah.
You understand?
They affect villages now in their own private jets, and they are the ones we really want to dive into what they do. Yes.
Yeah, they affect relatives, villages, and communities.
Regional.
These ones affect the countries. They affect kings, presidents.
That's right.
They infect their minds and with all sorts of things and very intelligent wishes. And we're going to be discussing them right here today. It's going to be really good. And let's get straight to it. There's something which our man of God spoke about, which was like, quite amazing. Really, it boggled my mind that all this time we hear of global warming. We hear of the scientists talking about that there is a climate change and stuff like that. And he put it in this way. He says, the reason why they are talking about climate change, a lot of Christians also are walking around, marching for the climate and stuff like that. They are not aware that they've been hoodwinked.
That's right.
Why? Because the agenda is not just talking about climate change. Because according to the scripture and according to the teaching from the man of God says, the climate change is there to some extent because even the coming of the Lord, remember it says with a great heat. There's going to be a great heat in this coming. So definitely the climate is going to be affected. Yeah. So, but then there's something here as well, which is very important, where he said it's simply because they are targeting where they are trying to get to a place where they're saying your seeds are harming the environment.
Whoa, that's right.
They are trying to eliminate everybody else from farming, so that there is an exclusivity to who should plant, or rather who should be a farmer, and which seeds are being planted.
That's right.
And that is where we are right now.
Yeah.
That is where the world is right now. And this is what we want to talk about right now, because the whole world seems to be hoodwinked right now, being directed that direction, climate change, and yet the idea is to actually tell you that the seeds which you are planting are not allowed. They are illegal. And they are trying to control this whole thing of food production. That's where we are today. Yeah. What have you got to say, Pastor Moss?
Thank you very much. That's actually the essence of the entire, manipulation of the climate change agenda. There's something that is hidden behind the entire, voice that is going out there concerning climate change. And our meta God puts it this way, that there might be some merits to that, but the reality is that they want to use it as a platform in order to control those that will really hold the seeds that we will need actually to plant and, of course, expect a harvest. But now the entire plan is to have assets being denied or restricted to a selected few. So we're talking about monopoly of the seeds, that you need to be able to continue your farming or your production. And if that happened, because that which you have as your own seed, it will be classified as something that, as you say, will create more carbon footprint. And so it is not permitted. Yes. It is not allowed. So though you have your own seed, but you cannot really sow it, simply because there are policies that they are trying to influence.
That's right.
There are structures that have been put in place. There are people behind the scene that are really manipulating the entire system to make sure that access to seed is being denied to those that really need it.
Yes.
And as time goes on, even our prophet, the prophet Uebert, was saying that they're going to digitalize the entire seedling process. In other words, food banks and seed banks are being created. And so before you can have access to it, there will be a tedious process involved. So the whole thing now will eventually end up people controlling the food production of a country, the food production of a region, the food production of the entire continent, if you are not careful. Simply
of the whole world.
Because they have the control and the monopoly to seeds. And if you don't have the seedlings, how will you plant? So this is the entire agenda, because they classify your own seeds as being harmful to the environment.
That's right.
And this idea.
If I were to add to that, if I were to add to that, because what you're saying there is very important, because what we need to realize is that if they can control your seed and they can control what you are planting, you're talking about communities, you're talking about regions, you're talking about countries and continents. I'm looking at it because just recently we had a war, which is still going, the Ukrainian war with Russia. Where they're actually saying, I think it's like maybe 70 or 80% of the world's wheat is actually coming from Ukraine.
That's right.
So now imagine if then they actually decide to actually say, there's no more seeds going to Ukraine. That simply means famines can be created. And there's a difference between a drought and a famine.
That's right.
Famine, that's a shortage of food. Where people do not have access to food. Why? Because there's been a seed control which has actually taken place.
That's right.
I mean, just to add on what you were actually saying there.
Exactly. So these are the things that they are really trying to foster. And there are selected few who have thought on this, and the entire plan is just so demonic. Because the entire plan is to deny the ordinary people the access to the seeds. And when they have that control, obviously they are cut the breach, wherein there will be continuity of the production line being shut up completely. Until you go to them, you don't have assets. I believe the entire thing is not only for themselves, but they're trying to even make sure they influence governments and other institutions that are not, as our Mayor put it, they are not elected. But yet they are the ones that are taking decision controlling who should have access to seed and who should not. And the majority of those that will not be having access to seed are those who are not part of their entire plan. And the plan is to control.
That's right. That's right.
And so it's very important that we now, getting this information, we begin to dig deeper. If at all there are seeds that that are continuously with the family. There are some farmers, in other regions of the world that they have. I was watching a documentary concerning a different type, for example, of potatoes. How they grow it in Mexico. And they have over 150 varieties that they grow. Of potatoes. Just imagine. And they were telling that these are from generation to generation. So imagine the access they have to that seed. If somebody have to tamper with it and finally take control of it, so you see the gap that will be created.
That's
so
right.
now, if you have the means and you know that these seeds, they have been handed over to us, some of us, from where we come up, we are seeing the seedling process being done.
Yes.
That they don't depend on food bank. They don't depend, on seed bank or an area where they go and collect seeds, but rather they make sure from every harvest, there are seeds that they reserve or store for the next, coming farming season. Yeah. So this have been going on from generation to generation.
Yes.
If it is just subsistence farming,
that's correct.
Keep that going, because the seeds you will need, and there will be time that are coming. This is a warning.
That's right.
From our men of God. He said these talk, they are markers for us to understand that there will be time.
That's right.
Where these things will not be possible. So if you have it now, you have access to seed now. Treasure it. Make sure that it is stored, because for generations to come, this might not be the case.
Wow.
So it's important for us to really take that, into account.
That's really amazing. That's really amazing. Thank you so very much for that detailed information. Executive Pastor Peven.
Absolutely.
Something is taking place.
No, absolutely.
And the world is being taken over by few individuals just through manipulation.
That's right. It's almost like a reversal of the old saying that, you give a man a fish, you will need to give him again tomorrow and the day after. But if you give him a fishing rod, he will go and he will fish. Teach him how to fish. He will go and what? And fish and feed himself for whatever, for however. You don't need to continue worrying about him. But like what you're saying, Executive, like, when you look at subsistence farming, where the tradition has been, in the family, people have been feeding. When you talk about subsistence farming, you're talking about, growing food just for yourself, your family, your household, and you put some seed in reserve for the next farming season, and you have enough to see yourself and your household till that next season.
That's right.
So when you then take that away and say, oh no, you're not using your own seed now because it's harming the environment and whatever it is, then that means that person now is relying on the seed bank. And if they haven't got access to it, well, they can afford that seed because it's not going to be for free.
Yes.
It's not going to be for free. So now they're relying on that. And if they can't, that means they haven't got food to feed themselves. Now they're going to rely on what? On aid.
Yes.
So you're building again back to that dependency on whosoever has the monopoly. And right now you're talking about only about what, a handful of companies, about 4 companies, as the prophet was revealed in that broadcast, that have got the monopoly of over the seas that are.
Yes.
So when you have that, then definitely you're going to have created famines. The demand and supply. That means also things are going to be expensive because now the market is being manipulated.
Yeah.
So it's very important that as this information is coming out, we are getting that information. Okay, we know that again, like we talked about when we talked about the food wars, the water wars.
Yes.
That all right. So we know this is coming. So what do we do with that information? We've now got to position ourselves, and I think ultimately, this is pointing towards. Really, I'm sorry to say, for those who are in the Western world, in the America and in Europe and wherever that is, that it might be time to go back home. Because even if you have land, do your own farming.
Yes.
All well and good, you need to do your own organic farming, so to say. But if you're in the States and you've got your land, you can do your farming. But where are you getting your seed? Unless if you keep your seed and you can do your farming.
Yes.
It's going to be like underground farming essentially.
Yeah.
Because you wanna stay off the radar if they're coming and policing you. So, but you come to Africa.
Yes.
Look at what happened during the lockdowns.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. If you're in central London and you live in an apartment and you are locked down, you were really locked down. You couldn't go anywhere. But you talk about lockdown in somebody in Zambia, in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, who is already in the rural areas. Say, you tell me lockdown.
Locking me down where?
You can't lock me down. I'm out in the open. And, life was continuing. Yeah, of course, you can minimize your interactions and movement. But lockdown, or even in the rural areas here in England, it's different. We're not in the in the cities. There was lockdown, but
Yes. Yeah.
it's different ball game altogether.
That's
So it's very
absolutely
important that you look at these things and you position yourself. We need to position ourselves in a place where one, you can be self-sufficient. Again, it comes back to when you talk about the water wars, you talk about the food wars. You have to position yourself to be what? To be independent, to be self-sufficient.
Yeah. Yes.
Where even the seeds that are being generated right now, seeds are being patented.
Yes.
They are modified.
That's correct. That's exactly what is happening right now. Where they are doing patented seeds.
Yeah.
In other words, those seeds no longer belong to everybody.
That's right.
They can choose who they want to sell to.
That's right.
That means they can actually choose to say, no, we do not like you. Yeah. If you actually refuse, maybe, suppose you refuse vaccination, they say, no, you're not vaxxed. How does the vaccination end up as being associated with just being a farmer?
Yeah. That's right.
You see, it's all going towards that control. There's a place in Norway.
Yeah, but as you say, I think Prophet also touched on this because when you talk about these seeds, these are modified seeds.
That's correct. Yeah.
Right.
GMOs.
There's some GMOs, genetically modified, and whatever technology. That means it's programmed.
Yes.
And what's to say it can be programmed to only germinate and grow under particular conditions.
And climates, yes.
Yeah, and climates and conditions. Also, you'll be told, okay, you need to buy this seed. Once you have this seed, or for it to actually give you a good yield, you need to get these fertilizers and these conditions, which only they provide.
Yes. And how did the world get to that? And you realize, like we were talking earlier on, that this is not something which just sprang up from nowhere.
No.
It's been actually happening for years. But now look at how our men of God is sort of come and opened everybody's eyes to realize where the world is really going. Because remember, for years we used to, when we're growing up, we'll actually peel the oranges. You start eating them, and while you're munching on them, there's a seed inside.
There's a seed inside.
But now later on they introduced something which is called seedless.
Yeah.
Oh, first it was very
Seedless
exciting.
oranges.
Convenient. Grapes.
Yeah.
Imagine you have to come across a seed, just enjoy it nicely.
No more seed.
No more seed.
No more chewing. Nothing.
Very convenient.
Yeah, they realized that what they were simply doing was just taking the seed away from you. Because in the past, people will actually take that apple seed and plant their own apple.
Yeah, the opportunity to grow it. Yeah,
the opportunity to do that. But these days, it's so difficult to do that.
Right.
Because in the supermarkets, the seed has already been taken.
Removed.
And at the same time, you are literally eating a GMO.
That's right.
Because according to God, every seed-bearing plant in itself. Right. Yeah. So according to God, any fruit which does not have a seed inside, it's a GMO.
It's an abomination. But it reminds me of, just to deviate a little bit, when we were in Thailand, I saw some fruits I had never, it's fruits that I knew.
Yes.
But the sizes, I had never seen anything like it.
Massive, eh?
I remember in the previous episode, you were talking about the water that you got from there, that it was very interesting water.
It was very interesting.
I saw some interesting fruits. I saw grapes longer than my fingers. Grapes.
Yes.
Apples the size of my head.
Yeah.
Grapes like the promised land in biblical times.
I'm telling you.
The Nephilims. Where you will need about 2 or 3 men
just to carry one bunch,
a cluster of grape, on the shoulder. And that is the time that really, with this kind of issue that we have right now, and our men of God is warning the entire world to say we have to be on our guard.
Yes.
Because if we can't fight them, the little that you have, make sure that you preserve it.
Preserve it.
Preserve it.
There's a place in Norway which is called I think if I'm getting the name right, something like Slavbard.
Yeah.
And it's in the Arctic circles.
Yeah.
They've literally done an underground storage facility where they are storing all the seeds. They're saying they're storing the seeds from all over the world.
Wow.
Why is it that they've got that mentality? They say, no, it's just in case
they're preparing for an apocalypse.
Something happens when there is Armageddon or whatever happens. How come they've got that mentality that the world might actually just come to a doomsday? And if that doomsday happens, we've got a place somewhere underground where we've got all these seeds from around the world, and we are going to restart the plantations again. So if they are able to prepare themselves like that, what about us as believers?
Yeah.
Because if we're being warned right now that there is a war coming, which is going to be looking at controlling the food supply, but looking at controlling the seed supply, looking at controlling who is farming, who's the farmer, to the extent that who can actually cultivate, who can actually have cows, who can have animals, animal husbandry, everything getting controlled. What can you do today? I like what you just said there. Go to Africa. There's a lot of land.
I'm telling you.
There's a lot of land in Africa. But it is very important for Christians to actually realize that these are messages to get Christians prepared.
That's right.
Not to scare anybody.
No.
And if you've got a way of actually putting things together, I think it's about time that people start doing that. Now is the time. Get prepared, because the seeds are going to be controlled. That means the food distribution is going to be controlled, as our man of God has been saying.
Yeah, but and it's like everything you're going into this again, one world global system that they've been trying to push. Because I remember the other broadcast that the prophet spoke about when he was talking about the whole pharmaceutical industry. It's again pushing. We saw what happened in 2020 with the whole the vaccine, the COVID-19 pandemic. It was a real eye opener. And as I said rightly, they were trying to push, and to a certain extent, they demonstrated, it actually exposed a whole lot of things from both sides in our preparedness, in our readiness. And we thank God for men of God like Prophet Uebert Angel, who stood, in the gap and, interceding and prayed to disrupt the plans of the enemy. So, but when you look at the level of control that is coming, that even your health is being controlled. You look at that was a very interesting teaching that an expose, so to say, that he did on that particular episode, which was talking about the pharmaceutical industry. You look at the money, and it's the connection as well between what you eat and your health. Because what you eat ultimately determines also your health, how healthy you're going to be. If you're not, well nutritioned, you're going to be exposed. You're going to be malnutritioned, and you're going to, you're not going to be at ease. You're going to be diseased. So when you look at that and look at how it was all introduced, how the whole vaccine theory, what came with it, how it was shoved down people's throats, and everything like that, it was really bad. But now the truth started coming out. Which really, again, even as during that time, he was sounding the alarm on a daily basis.
On a daily basis, with programs
after program, sounding the alarm, especially with that vaccine. And it has not been proven to have been, as shady as it can be, And everything that he was saying was proven to be true. So again, it comes to, all right, as you're sounding the alarm, we're hearing this information, and now we're in a position where we're not walking into anything blindly, but our eyes have been opened. So we are conscious, we are aware what we're taking, what are we ingesting.
That's right.
How is it affecting our bodies, and how do we need to react to something? And as you has already said, there will be another strain.
Yes.
Or there will be another pandemic coming. There will be other lockdowns that are coming. Again, I'm sorry to say,
for those who are
in the West, Africa might just be, not even might, but it's the best. I mean, you look at how they said, this pandemic is going to literally wipe out Africa. But yet it was the least affected.
It was the least
affected. I should tell you something.
There's something which he said there, where he said, with regards to the vaccines during that pandemic. What then happened is they realized that the people were not taking it. People didn't take it, lying down. People fought back.
That's right.
And rightly so, our man of God was leading and really standing out there, being a tower, speaking. And he actually said something where he was actually talking about how they've now come back. Bill Gates now talking about vaccinating the cows. Because if they couldn't get it through you direct, they might as well just
in your food.
They might as well put it in your food.
I'm telling you. And they've already started the test.
They've already started. Because right now in the UK, there's some milk which is being sold in some shops, which is coming from vaccinated cows. Vaccinated against what? Against pumping. You know, the cows passing the wind.
Yes,
So they are passing out a lot of wind that is causing.
It's digestion. That's the digestive system.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wonder how many vaccinations he himself has.
So now you'll be surprised that maybe zero.
No, it's interesting, you know, when our man of God was really dissecting the subjects, you know, of the pharmaceutical industry.
Yes.
And he made particular reference to the book of Revelation, you know, 18:23. And if you read that, the latter part of that verse, you will see that the great men, you know, of the earth, by their sorceries,
Yes.
you know, were nations deceived. And he said that sorcery is the word, pharmakia.
Yeah.
You know, which we're talking about pharmacies. We're talking about the drugs or the administration of drugs. And these are the witches that actually are you know, they have the plans really to make sure.
By their witchcraft.
Exactly. This is pure witchcraft. You know, so it's not those that fly by night and you think that they do, or those who go and then eat human beings. But these people, the pharmacists, you know, and if you look at the pharmaceutical industry, during the pandemic, we are talking about the COVID pandemic. The whole thing was being manipulated by them. They were controlling the whole system.
Yes.
Now, and he made us to understand what we have now as somehow, you know, the good medical treatment for illnesses or whatever. It was then the alternative. But now they have reversed it to say this is now the main thing.
That's correct.
And whatever else you are doing is alternative. But it just have to bring us to understand that these things, we have to be very, very diligent in understanding that we discern from the teachings of our men of God that we have to take that bold step to say there are certain things, you know, whether medication or otherwise, you have to avoid. Simply because these things, they are not really good for your health.
Yes.
So you have to take that personal decision, you know.
I was actually watching a video. I was actually watching a video just yesterday of, I think it's the Minister of Health from Kenya, who was actually talking about why Kenya has pulled out of the World Health Organization, or whether I do not know if they've actually pulled out, or, but he was talking about why they are pulling out, and he was saying it's simply because there was a time where the country was being given a vaccination. I think it was for polio or something like that.
Right.
But then I think it has something to do with little children.
That's right.
Yeah, so like the babies. So what would then happen is they were vaccinating these pregnant women so that the kids do not get or contract the sickness which they were talking about.
That's right.
What was then happening is they then realized that the mothers now were becoming barren. And these were young people. This is in Kenya. These were young people a lot of young people were now beginning to actually not be able to conceive. Simply because what was happening is the vaccination which they were being given was actually affecting fertility.
Wow.
So imagine that in Africa, people will be just taking it like what Prophet was actually saying, that it is birth control and stuff like that. And yet the whole thing is actually based on population reduction.
That's
You know, so
I'm telling you.
the idea is to have other countries rising in population, other countries in Africa they're decreasing, which they call the
eliminating
law.
the poor.
Yeah, the law of selection, as they would actually say it. That was the same mentality which Hitler had. Hitler wanted a particular race and with particular features.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing which we're actually seeing happening today. So look at it this way, that in all this, the pharmakia, the witchcraft which is taking place, but it's being done inside the private jets. It's being done in skyscrapers. It's being done, you know, in very special offices.
That's right.
And confusing and misleading presidents and prime ministers and kings into things that are actually affecting their own subjects and communities.
That's right.
You know, and it's all through information. It is just deception. And that deception has gone to food. That deception has gone to water. That deception has gone to farming.
And it's when you look at it again, it comes to big businesses. Because I remember when the prophet was talking about this particular subject, with medication again and food. When you look at the Rockefeller,
yes,
how he got into that industry, into the medicine, in the medical field, and when it turned out, because he was also in the oil, but using that petroleum as part of the base for the medication, but when it turned out that it was actually cancerous, he then would squash those reports by creating the AMA, the American Medical Journal for Association. Basically squashing those and rewriting the narrative around it and calling the natural remedies what alternative medicine, as you were saying. So, we can talk and go back and, and see this thing. And it's very important for us to recognize what has been, as our man of God, as he's exposing this, so that we know as we're moving forward that, no, look, for you, you should not be relying on this medication.
Yes.
You know, as the Bible says, I desire that you may prosper and be, in health, even as your soul prospers. So, and we ought to be living in divine health. So it's very important to look after your body, look after your health.
That's what he said.
We watch what you eat, because it is what you eat that is also causing you to be, to end up, all these, the diseases, these conditions. I remember he was saying that the number 3 killer is actually medicine.
Yes.
See, after cardiovascular diseases and cancer, you've got the side effects.
Yes.
Because you look at the side effects, look at the vaccine, the side effects, you gotta wonder, okay, this side effects, is it worth? Is it worth it?
Yes.
So we've got to be diligent in that. When you eat, look at it. I like how he was always, when it comes, he brings the whole, the whole package.
Yeah. That's right.
When you look at animal husbandry, why is it we don't see the vast number of diseases in animals? Because they're given all the nutritions that they need. So we've got to pay attention to what we are eating. Yeah. That's why again it comes to, be self-sufficient. Have food that has not been processed too much.
That's right.
There's too many things, especially in the States. There are a lot of food and additives and dyes and stuff like that are even banned in Europe.
Yes.
Because of their side effects. So you have to watch. We have to be conscious. Watch what you eat. You are. Is there a statement that says you are what you eat?
That's right. That's right.
This is important because, as you said, when you say, when our man of God, Prophet Uebert, classify that even medication, though they put it as number 3 killer, but the reality is supposed to come to number 1, because whatever is supposed to have been the cure, for example, for the heart problems or the cancer problem of someone, the medication given is actually trying to hasten that person, to the end. So this particular thing that when it comes to medication, because the witches, these people, they are strategically planned to eliminate, people.
Yes.
Certain type of people to eliminate. So it's important, again, as E.P. Bevan was saying, to really know what you eat, to really take care of your own health, because we are living in days and time where, these people, you cannot trust what they are given to you.
That's right. That's right.
Because whatever the content is not fully being disclosed.
That's right.
Because remember what he was actually saying. At the end of the day, the whole thing is actually directed at you just being dependent on them. So they give you this food which is messed up there. So that you can actually come back looking for this medication. At the end of the day, you just become a warehouse for them.
That's right.
A cash cow for them, because to them, every day when you wake up, you've got to depend on them.
Yeah, you got to depend on them for water.
Yes.
And they're giving you the information.
Yes.
To tell you that, look, you don't want to, you shouldn't be doing anything else. This is where you need to.
Yes.
This is what you need, how you need to be thinking. This is how you need to be. Look at the mandates that were given out. And all that, just pushing you, directing your livelihood. They are making you dependent on their food.
That's right.
From the seeds and everything. So they have a whole chain. It's based on them. The pharmaceutical is depending on them. You are not, it's alternative to medicine, the natural. Yet, where are the ingredients coming from for those?
The people who came with the natural were actually discredited.
Exactly.
If you look at it, in 2020, when there was that COVID going on, there's a president from another country who said, no, I actually can heal. I can heal COVID.
they'll be ridiculed and
they were ridiculed like that's not science.
Yeah, it's primitive and this and that.
Yeah.
Yet, when you look at medicine, okay, I did a little bit of in the science field.
Yes.
But all these medication, these drugs that they're getting, they're extracts.
Yeah.
From plants, they're
plants,
extras from you've just made it
But
look
now they
fancy
say,
put it in a nice packet.
Yeah, remove the plant. Let's do something synthetic.
Exactly, of which you're chewing on that on these plants as part of your diet.
That's right.
Why is it people never used to have all these kind of diseases that are so prevalent now?
Yes.
And why is it when you look at this, a lot of these diseases, they're geographical.
Yeah,
They are
that's
more
correct.
prevalent in certain areas where
Yes.
you have certain
Yes.
diets
Yes,
and certain lifestyles,
That's
and yet
correct.
in other areas
that's correct.
you don't have them.
That's correct. That's correct.
So
The purpose of this is for you to get a different perspective to what is happening in the world, so that you are well informed. You're not just like taking what the news is saying and taking what is happening around the world and thinking that they've got the good idea, they've got the
your
best
best interest
intentions
for you. No.
in their hearts. No, at the end of the day, they are looking at you thinking, how can we change your DNA so that it's no longer human, so that it's depending on the chemicals, depending on everything, you becoming a synthetic person.
Yeah.
Instead of what God created you to be. And it is very, very important. What is it which, in closing, we're just finishing.
Absolutely.
What would you like to say to somebody who's watching right now? Because we've covered 2 topics right here today. What would be the direction you think that as believers we need to be focusing on as we move forward?
No, I think like what the prophet always says, that we're in the very last days.
Yeah.
And the system, there are a lot of things that are already in play,
Yes.
pointing to the rapture can be at any moment from
Any
now.
moment, yes.
So it's very important that we remain grounded in the Word. It's high time our eyes ought to be open, enlightened with the Word and with the teachings. And I'm so grateful for the life of Prophet Uebert Angel, because he is really opening our eyes to things that
Yes.
I would not have been able to see myself even in
yes,
the Word.
yes.
So as he is opening our eyes into these things, we walk in light of that information. We'll walk in light of the what the Word is guiding us, so we are not deceived. We are not swayed by what the world is trying to force on us. So it's very important that we remain diligent in everything that we do. We are self-sufficient. We have to be self-sufficient.
yes.
Watch what we eat. Don't just go along with this processed world that that is pushing
It's sinning.
profits.
You said it's sinning.
Exactly. We are in the world, but not of the world.
Yes.
So it's high time that we really also still remain impactful and effective in converting the people in the world to the kingdom,
Yes.
but not be conformed to it,
Yes.
even in our bodies.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so very much, Executive Pastor. And Executive Pastor, we've realized seed is going to be one of the biggest wars and commodities, lucrative to other people and stuff like that. And while others, communities and nations and people are going to be, facing challenges with regards to that. What have you got to say about that? And to somebody watching, a Christian who probably has never thought about these things, and hearing what Executive Pastor Pevin was saying as well about acquiring land and maybe focusing on going to other countries for farming and stuff like that. What would you want to say in closing with regards to seeds and with regards to these synthetic wishes?
Well, thank you so much. The time is running fast on these kind of things, but
Yes.
I just want to appreciate, firstly, my man of God,
That's
Prophet
right.
Uebert Angel,
Yes.
because he brought a life and he removed the scales from our eyes to understand the reality of what we are living in today. He said these are the pointers and these actually are the indicators that you have to be mindful of. He's telling us of a gathering storm
That's right.
that is about to overtake the entire world, and we have to be prepared. So when it comes to the seedlings, or really keeping that line of tradition, or keeping that line of a generation to generation, making sure that you have the means to store your own seeds, so that when the time comes, you will not be dependent on those who say, well, we are the only source, monopolizing the whole process.
Yes.
You have at least your own ways to be able to survive.
Yes.
Because if you are so much dependent on them and they restrict, then how will you survive? So it's important for us, because still they are still out there, really organic, natural.
They're still there.
Seeds that are not being mixed or that are not being contaminated with GMO or genetically modified in a way. No, they are there. So if you have that source, it's about time you treasure it and make sure that you preserve it. It's important. Then when it comes to the pharmaceuticals, when it comes to this drug administration, when it comes to your health, it's important, because now you know that these people, what they are trying to give to you is not actually trying to kill you, but trying to make sure that you are dependent on them, for your survival. So when you are hooked on their drug, it means that you will continuously, and they will say, well, you have to do this, you have to take this, you have to take that. So make sure that you really be wise.
Yes.
You have to be wise.
Yes.
Because there are certain things you don't need them. You don't need them. And you have to be conscious of the fact that your body belongs to you.
Yes.
And when you are conscious of that, you will take steps also in terms of your consumption, mentality, your dietary, and everything that you, and you see yourself change in a different way altogether.
That's right.
Again, I just say thank you to our man of God for enlightening us to understand that there is an alternative way to live, which they have been eliminated. Now is being brought alive. We have to continue that path.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Executive.
Yeah.
And thank you, Executive.
Thank you so much,
Pastor Bevan. It's been really amazing. And remember, you can still go on YouTube and in some of our platforms and watch these very programs.
Very important.
1, 2, 3, and 4 of the 4 coming wars by our man of God, Prophet Uebert Angel. It's well detailed. It's a perspective on its own.
Yeah.
And this is the perspective. We love you, Prophet Uebert Angel, and thank you for everything you are doing for us and the impact you're making around the world. Keep on doing it, sir. We love you so very much, and we thank God for your life. Stay connected, and God bless you. Good news to you.